Welcome to the So I'm a Fan of podcast, where people from different fandoms come together to share why they love what they love.
And sometimes hate what they hate.
I'm Kaiser Brown, your host, and of course today I'm joined by
Sabrina.
And today we're going to be watching a very special new show for New Year's. Pokémon Concierge. Let's get into it. How are you today, Sabrina?
I'm doing pretty good now. Starting off with a fun episode, some exciting.
Yes.
Love.
Yes, so I decided that we're going to talk about Pokémon Concierge because we couldn't think of anything to talk about for New Year's. But here we are. We finally figured it out, and we're going to go into this. Sabrina, what's your relationship with Pokemon? I know that's
yeah, a broad question. So I'm not as well versed as you are. I wanted to say I got in around Game Boy days. I remember I had my little red Game Boy, and I think I started on what was Pokemon Scarlet. I think I have the original one that was just like Pokemon Blue. It was the giant square cartridge with Blastoise on it. But then eventually I got my DS Lite, and I got the official Pokemon Scarlet.
Did you have the Scarlet?
Not Scarlet,
Ruby?
Sapphire, that's what I meant.
Sapphire? Okay, Pokemon
Yes.
Sapphire. Okay, so you started with the Game Boy Advance ones then, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, like I said, I got the DS Lite, and that's when I got the Sapphire. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. I kept saying Scarlet. I was like, what is my brain? But I really loved Sapphire. I don't know why. I just thought it was so cool. I hated that dude. That was my rival. But also, I was like, man, are you my boyfriend? What's going on here? Why do you got problems? Why are you obsessed with me? I was like,
yeah,
get over yourself. And then, of course, I was obsessed with more so Sonic games, Zelda for a while, and then of course Black and White came out, and then I became obsessed again. I don't know why. That era was just so good for me. I enjoyed the world. I enjoyed how the time-based scenarios affected not only the environment but the Pokemon that would appear, specifically with Thundoras, Landoras, and Tornadus. It's really cool. And it was the first time I really delved into Pokemon. I feel like that was my first true peak. Because I was relatively young when I first played. And then of course I played a couple of the later ones. Sun and Moon, I was okay. I wasn't crazy in love with. And then of course most recently there was Scarlet and Violet. Just because I was into more of the idea of a progressive future versus the idea returning to the past, which is more so Scarlet with its dino archaeology theme. I wasn't impressed. I wasn't oh, this is great. But I wasn't completely disappointed. Some people really did not like it. I liked the concept. I felt like I wish it had baked a little more. There were some bugs and things that I feel could have been done better. Especially coming from Arceus, which I felt was a really high point. I feel like they took away some of those advances they had made in Arceus for the system that could have continued into Scarlet and Violet, especially the
science. Don't do that. You're talking about Game Freak. Every new Pokemon game, they add some new, and then they always take it away almost. The only thing that stayed with double battles, if I'm being honest. And for a little while, the Mega Evolution, that stayed for a little bit. But then they just removed everything. They have a habit of doing that. They always do it. It's stupid.
It's disappointing. Of course, we have a debate on the revamps of the older games. Which a lot of people don't really care for them because I would rather a new game, which I understand, but at the same time, I also appreciate the revivals because of the fact that I was very fortunate enough to be able to play these older games when they came out, but there's a whole newer generation that doesn't necessarily have access to those games anymore. They're not making DS Lites anymore. They're not bringing out these old Game Boy games anymore. Not everybody has a Game Boy. So I feel I enjoy them in the sense that I'm happy that other people are getting to enjoy the games that maybe I originally got to play. But I understand where people Raiden and I always have this debate because he's all no, I hate the revivals. I would rather a better game them to put more effort into these games that they're just pushing out little farms. It's I understand, but at the same time, you can't really be upset because again, share with the whole community also. Or I wish Pokemon or Game Freak, they will never do this, but I wish they would upload all their old games to the new system. Make it a bundle pack that maybe is a little more expensive, but includes all these older games.
I think that problem is what I have with Game Freak when they remake their titles is that when they remake them, they always remake the original versions, which for the most part, which makes, besides Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I haven't played Heart Gold and Soul Silver, so I don't. But Those are the only ones that I haven't really played besides the ones on the Switch. But when you
Well,
have the Diamond and Pearl ones, why you should just remake Platinum so you get the full experience, because what you're doing is you're taking away all the features and all the things that they added, and you're just, like, saying, "What's the point?" If I would, because I get what you're saying, but I feel like if you want somebody to have that full experience, that full Pokemon experience, you should wanna give them the best version possible, because
yeah.
it makes
Well,
no sense for you to do.
so I get your argument there. So like they did, I think it was Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, those
Yeah.
Switch remakes were, and I like that they brought them out as like their separate games. Like you get to pick in your legendary. But like you said, I wish they had almost included the updates that had been done. Add those little fixes to like make them like more in a sense complete games. Still the same as those classics, but have that updated feature that everybody enjoyed, like the fixing, if you will. Like
And plus, you
um
had all the legendary, and once you have Platinum, you have all 3 legendaries in there, so you get the
yeah.
full thing. You get the story
But
that's corrected, but I get what you mean too.
yeah, but so Ryan and I have a bet because we were like, "Oh, what Pokemon game's coming next?" And I looked at him and I was like, "I swear, on me, on my left hand, it's probably gonna be Black and White is gonna be next because they're somewhat going in order, like the revivals of like when things are getting redone." And I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be Bright White and Dark Black. That's my theory.
Bright white and dark black?
Because that's what they do. It's like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Like it's
I
gonna be. I'm
guess.
telling you,
No,
it's crazy dumb. Like
I feel like they'll reverse it for no reason. It'll be like bright black and dark white.
or they'll be like something crazy. They'll bring some kind of because you know how in the most recent one, Scarlet and Violet, they had what was it? Like those rare ones, or they'd have the metal casing on them or whatever when they were like just out in the wild and they were specialty, whatever. I don't know. It was something weird. So I feel like they're gonna bring like titanium white and carbon black or like something.
Something like that. If you remake those games, see, you won't even have to do anything because you can just remake those games. Because it's not like, Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, where the 3rd version is like
Yeah.
a remake. Like, Black and White 2 are 2 different
Yeah.
games that take
Well,
place 2
so
years later. So if you do that, you can remake those 2 and
So that was Raiden's argument. They redid Black and White rather than making them like Black and White and then Black and White 2. They should just combine both games to like in a sense a longer like
No.
full round game. And I was
Mm-mm.
kind of like, I don't know how I
They're
feel about
not
that.
I get it, but from a business perspective, Game Freak wouldn't do that because they wanna make money.
More money, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're gonna do all that, you might as well just put the original games on the system then, because
Which
you're not gonna get that. Game Freak are money
well,
hogs.
so Raiden made the point though that like instead of remaking games, people should just emulate them. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't have the skills to emulate.
Yeah,
Could
some
never.
people don't have the skills to emulate. It took me forever to learn how to emulate. I started emulating some games on my phone from, like, DS, and it took me quite a bit to figure out how to do it. I did it for the PSP too, because 'cause I'm like, I don't know how to really do that, and it's not that big of a learning curve, but sometimes when I was first getting into it, I was like, "What the heck? How do you do this? I don't understand. I don't know how these 10-year-olds be doing this stuff." Because when I
Hey
was
man,
10, I still didn't know how to emulate, you know what I mean? It was still there for me to do. I'm only 24, right? So, like, 14 years ago is now a long time, and you could still emulate DS games on there then. So, I don't know what to tell you, but
yeah, sorry. Back to the
yeah,
story, I guess. Point
that
aside, I would still pay for titanium white, carbon black, bright white, dark black, whatever that comes out as. I'll probably
yeah,
still get it because I think that people are gonna judge me, but I think that is my favorite Pokemon game. I
really.
think the black and white is my
Mhm.
favorite. A lot of people are that platinum, like or soul silver or
I'm a
whatever.
platinum guy.
Yeah, and I understand.
The music in there, because watching Pokemon, my history of Pokemon, I grew up watching Pokemon before I even played a Pokemon game. I
Mm,
never played a
okay.
Pokemon game until Platinum came out, and I wasn't even interested in Pokemon games, but my parents bought me a Pokemon game for Christmas, and so Platinum came out, they bought that for me for my DS, and I enjoyed it quite thoroughly. I didn't finish it until, like, a year later because when I first started playing it, once I got to the grass type gym, I just
Okay.
kept losing. Platinum was a hard game. See, that's a good game to start off for your first Pokemon game, the hardest one. Because once you got to Cynthia, I remember going to Cynthia and losing so many times. I didn't lose that much because I got to Cynthia the night before. I
Okay.
defeated her on the Sunday morning before church. I remember that. We were going to church, and I was sitting there trying to defeat Cynthia in the game, and I got to the, Elite Four the day before because I would stay up. Platinum is that one game. For a lot of Pokemon games, I did that, but Platinum was the first game where I would stay up all the way up until the morning trying to just move forward in the
Me.
game.
Pokemon
Yeah.
Black and White, I bought okay, so it started out with I think I got Pokemon Black, and then
Yeah.
I fell in love. Like I said, it was the first time I was old enough to actually give my full effort and understand how to play this game. I was, like, obsessed, obsessed. It was, like, disgusting, like, how obsessed I was. And
Mhm.
I think it all started so my first ever true encounter with Pokemon was because the Game Boy game I actually was, like, my uncle's because my uncle and I are very close in age, ironically, like, we're 2 years apart. And so he had given it to me, and, like, I was just like, "Oh, my uncle gave this," like, "Let me play it," and I just messed around. But then I saw the Pokemon movie with, Ash and then the 3 legendary bird types, Articuno,
Mhm.
Zapdos, and Moltres. I was, like, obsessed. I was like, "I need one. One of them will be mine. There's no question." And that's when eventually Black and White came out, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna give my full effort, become a gamer and fake gamer," because this was the one game I played. But,
Yeah.
it just sent me off. I was on my way.
Yeah.
But anyway, how about you, Kaiser? We've been talking about me. What was your relation to Pokemon?
Like I said, I started with the anime, like, because who doesn't know the Pokemon anime? If you grew up from the '90s to the early 2000s to now, and Pokemon, the anime has been around since Pokemon the franchise almost, just as long.
Mhm.
And I watched the anime. Of course, I knew, like, Ash, Misty, and Brock, all the original trio.
Yes.
But I didn't really get into Pokemon until the Diamond and Pearl era, and that's when Dawn came in. Dawn is always and forever will be my favorite Pokemon character. 10-year-old Kaiser had a crush on Dawn. I love Dawn so much, and her Piplup too, and so when I got
Yes.
Pokemon Platinum, you better believe that I chose Dawn, my girlfriend at the time. I chose Dawn to be my protagonist in the game, and I got a Piplup. And I played it the first time, but couldn't beat it. Like I said, on the second gym, I just kept losing, so I gave up. I picked it up a year later when I found out my friends were into Pokemon too, and restarted the entire game and
Mhm.
went through it, figured out how to defeat that gym leader, and then all of a sudden, I was just blowing through the gyms quite easily. Got my Piplup evolved into Napoleon, then got to Cynthia and kept that's when I started losing over and over again. But that Sunday morning, before church, I beat the mess out of Cynthia because I was like, "I'm not having this anymore." I beat her, I became the champion, and since then, I got a new Pokemon game every year up until Sun and Moon, and besides Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I
Mhm.
never got those games. I did play them for a little bit, like, my friends had owned them, right? But I never owned Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and, I went up all the way to Sun and Moon. Pokemon was the reason I got a 3DS. But I did not play Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon because I heard that the story was worse in those
Mhm.
games. So I was like, "What's the point?" I know they added a whole bunch of new stuff, but I was like, "Ah,
Yeah.
why would you change the story to make it worse? Just add stuff to the story like you do with every other Pokemon game. Why'd you have to, change some story things?" I don't know, because Pokemon games aren't known for their story, but I always tend to like the Pokemon stories and their characters anyway. I don't know, they're simple,
Okay.
fun.
Nobody can change my mind. N's story will forever be the best story for me.
Mhm. Well,
I love
Pokemon
that
Black
man.
and White are known for their good stories. Those are known as the
I was
ones
in
with the good
love with him,
stories.
Kaiser. Love was Dawn. I was in love with
Yeah,
N. I
yeah,
loved this man.
uh-huh, yeah,
Nobody can change my mind.
yeah. I never thought I was gonna marry Dawn, but I knew that she was my girlfriend at the time when I was
You want me to
8
marry
years
her?
old. Yeah, probably my last girlfriend. Dawn was my last girlfriend, but
Dang.
but but yeah, and then after that, just like Pokemon, Pokemon, Pokemon. Pokemon is everywhere. You got Pokemon movies, Pokemon shows, plural. Pokemon, anything, everywhere. Pokemon is everything. Pokemon, I think, is the biggest franchise in the world, if I'm not mistaken.
I
You
wanna say
think
it
it?
is.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like some franchise from Disney or not, but it's actually Pokemon. I had to search that up at least last year. And so when I saw that Pokemon Concierge came out, I said, "This is a stop motion show." It looked wholesome, and that's 2 of my favorite things, and it's Pokemon, so that's a 3rd. I'm like, I wanna watch this show, and it's perfect to put on this podcast, and so that's what I decided that we were gonna do, and I'm
No.
glad we did. I'm glad we did because I enjoyed the show quite a bit. We're only gonna talk about well, I know we'll get into it, but it was fun. It was a fun show, and I wanna ask you before we get into the show, like, what did you like most about this show? About Pokemon Concierge compared to, like, other pieces of Pokemon media that you may have seen?
Okay, so first things first, I guess just in general, obviously we've done this takeover series. This is like the first stop motion animation we've seen, like a very like I guess 3D animation is what I'd more so like to refer to it as. It's like these figures that have been made in space. It's like very classic. It reminds me of like traditional Christmas movies that used to always come out, with, like
Yeah,
Rudolph and everything, like
Rudolph.
where they're felted. It was like I was so excited because keep in mind, I'd heard that it was coming out. I hadn't really seen much media around it just because I've been busy with work. But when you brought it up, I like pulled it up on Netflix and I saw the animation style and I was like, oh yes, something different, something exciting. So I got really excited just seeing the animation at first. I didn't even really know the story. But honestly, like we bring up the story, I think I love the story and the style of the story, like how things are brought about as things progress in the show. I thought it was really cute, and wholesome, like you said. But on top of that, it was just the main character, Haru. I felt her to be like really relatable, and especially like how she solves problems, how she thinks. And I feel it didn't like a lot of the Pokemon shows, like Ash and them are very young, relatively, like, and so it's definitely directed towards that audience. But I feel like this new Pokemon, similar to how when we watched Precure, it's directed at a more of like older audience, very much directed at people like our age who like maybe grew up with Pokemon, who are now like adults. And I thought it was really cute, but also it was like I say digestible and cute enough to where like even kids could also watch this. So my
Yeah.
only disappointment is that it is only 4 episodes,
Yeah.
Kaiser. I was so we agreed that we'd probably only watch the first 2 and talk about it. But I was like, I'll just watch the other 2 because this is so
Mhm.
short in comparison to what we had been watching. Like, oh, okay, so when does the next episode release? And I was like, wait, what? There's no next episode? What? And so I was heartbroken.
Yeah, I love me a good wholesome stop motion TV show. Netflix has a few of them. There's also this other one. Let me see if I can find it. It's called I don't know if I want to say this right. Rilakuma and Kaoru. I don't know how to pronounce that.
So
But
I feel like I've heard of it. I've heard of
Mhm.
Real Kumo.
You seen this before?
Yes, 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 yes,
Did you
yes.
see the show? You saw the show? Did you
I
see the
haven't seen the
sequel one?
show, but
You should
that's
watch
like
it.
another piece of media that like I've seen
Mhm.
it. I think it's like a manga or like a, but
Yeah.
I have not seen the show.
So they have that one, and I enjoyed it when it came out in 2019. And then they had a sequel one where they go on a theme park, and they have Adventures in the Theme Park that came out last year. And I think those are just really nice. I just love me some nice slice of life shows, and I love them when they're in stop motion. Because anime and stop motion it's just really cute because you have the anime character features, but they're all these little figures, and it's just fun. And especially when they have the cute animals, it's just it's made for me. It's made for me. I just love wholesome stuff like that. I love me a good wholesome show, a good romance and things like that.
And then just as an artist, stop motion style, as I see like different like animations and movements happening, like my brain like starts to think about like how that was done, which is something I also enjoy. Like in one of the episodes of Pokemon Concierge, they have like Tyler's cooking, and so to see his like his filling for his desserts, I was like, oh man, is that like glitter glue? Like how did they make that? What
Yeah.
is this process? And just really exciting for me, like along with the cute story.
Yeah. I never thought of that, like, how they made it, because 'cause I'm always thinking whenever I see food on Pokemon, for some odd reason, it looks really good. You know how they have Studio Ghibli food, and it's just always
Yes.
oh god. Every time I be seeing food, I'm like, "I wanna eat that." I don't be thinking like, "I wonder how that was made." I was like, I wonder how that can go into my mouth." But
Anime's different, but, like, in, like, these stop motion films, that's when I
uh-huh.
started to think about it. I remember in college, like, especially during the pandemic, this when I had my sculpture class, and so I remember having, like,
Yeah.
find ways at home to make these things look like other
Mhm.
substances and things, and it was
Same.
always exciting to solve the problem.
I hated sculpture class so much.
I loved it, even though I
Building
sucked at
things
it.
building things with my hands just was not I was horrible in 3D design. Horrible. I was seeing my way into that class until the final project where, I did such a good job on the final project, and I passed, obviously, but, like, sculpture class was better for me because I was at home during the pandemic, so I didn't have to, like I could wing it a bit because
No, I
I
was
didn't
so
wanna.
extra. I was trapped at home, and then so for whatever reason, my job had convinced everyone that we were essential workers, so we had to be there. And so it's like I would get so excited to just be at home and do something ingenuitive and fun like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess back to the show. The show is
Yes.
really good. All of you should watch it. Spoiler alert: 5 Pokeballs out of 5 Pokeballs.
5 Pokemon, I agree. I agree. So you already know how we feel about it. Let's
Five
just
gym
get into
badges out
it.
of 5 gym badges.
We'll give it a 6 out of 6. 8 out of 8 gym badges because you know we want to be on my island. We have 8 gym badges, okay? But the series it starts off with a woman named Haru. She's going through a series of life disappointments. Her boyfriend of 6.5 years broke up with her. Her work bestie quit their job. A whole bunch of stuff just happened,
Yeah,
and
she stepped in gum
yeah,
twice.
she's twice. She's stepping on twice.
Twice.
I looked twice, and now she's moving to this concierge Pokemon resort. Cause at first she was like, "Now I'm here," so I'm like, cause I knew she was gonna end up working at the resort, but I'm like, "Are you going to the resort and then all of a sudden you're gonna get a job there or something?" But no, she went there to
One of the
get
things
have a
that went
job.
wrong was her work project went wrong.
Mhm.
Remember? Like, she,
Yeah.
worked so hard to get this report, and then it was completely torn down. So it kind
Yeah.
of implied that, just her corporate life wasn't going well and that she was, like, looking to start anew. So I knew she was probably
Yeah.
gonna either get there to have this job, she was gonna go, like you said, to relax, and then
Yeah.
maybe end
And
up
find a
becoming
new
part of the
job.
staff.
Yeah. And so what we find out, she meets Miss Watanabe, who is she's the head. She seems to be like the head of the hotel, but then she also does the massaging and stuff like she does a lot. But we find out that at the Pokemon resort, not only do humans stay there, but Pokemon stay there, and so they stay together. So it can be like a trainer and their Pokemon staying together. It could be just a human going there. It could be just a Pokemon going there, and you have wild Pokemon too. So everybody's welcome. Everybody, then you, and they just enjoy the resort together. And their motto is Pokemon first, which is very sweet, but it makes me wonder, what do you mean by that? Because if I'm a human being staying here without no Pokemon, so if I get run over by a Pokemon, does a Pokemon come first or do I come first? Wanna know.
I think
Just in case we have to get in some legal trouble.
I think the point of that comment is just like, so humans obviously can communicate for themselves, whereas like the Pokemon is like a concierge worker. Your job is also to make sure that the Pokemon are having fun. And
Yeah.
not all Pokemon are like can communicate with humans. So
Not
it's a
all
lot of like
Pokemon are Meowth who decide to
yeah.
learn how to learn human language.
Yeah, so a lot of the times you have to kind of for like when you have a pet, like obviously they have natural needs of like hunger, sleep, exercise, and but you have to also be able to tell that they're having fun. So that's like the biggest responsibility of a concierge worker. Like your job is to make sure that everybody is being included, not just the humans who own the Pokemon. It's like to give Pokemons their own rights, basically. They matter too. It's not just their trainer's happiness, it's Pokemon's happiness as well.
So I want to ask you a question, Sabrina, because when Miss Watanabe gives Haru her first assignment, it was to enjoy the resort as a guest. How did
Yeah.
you, as someone who's very similar to Haru, feel about that? I just want to know. What would you do?
So I feel like so obviously Kara reacts because she's really nervous and she feels like she's being tested. I feel like in a similar circumstance, I would also probably be nervous, like maybe not as an extreme as her, because like in my experience, like Miss Watanabe seems very genuine when she says, "Go have fun, like experience like what our guests experience in a sense, so you can get an idea of like how the work environment is in a sense." And so I feel like I may not have been as like serious and strict as Haru. I definitely would have like still been as like aware as her, probably like still being very observative of my environment, like more so research minded, if you will, of like looking at the space, getting an idea of how people react, how Pokemon will act in the environment. And then of course, like she meets her fellow coworkers, Tyler and Alyssa, or Alyssa, right?
It's Alyssa.
Okay. Which I will say, Tyler's funny, but Alyssa is my girl. 110%. Her eyebrows could cut through me. Her attitude, also straight through me. They'll, like,
Me and Alyssa
that's
would be
it.
great friends. I feel like me and Alyssa would be
Same.
sitting there just, like, being blunt together. You know how the people just sit there at the resort and just start talking about people? Not like we'd be gossiping, but we would just be saying stuff about, like, "You see him over there? I saw what he did, and this, that, and the other." And then, just like, and we would just be double teaming people, if I'm being honest, because that's just the type of person I am. Not
I just
talking
wanna
about
paint
people,
with
I'm not talking
her.
about people, but, like, yeah. I feel like we just be cool. We be Alyssa's the type of person that I can just sit in quiet, and we don't have to talk. We just vibing together. We don't need to do nothing. And that's the type of person I like to be around. I don't "You talking too much. Tyler, go away. Where's Alyssa?" You know what I mean? Like, come on now. So Tyler and Alyssa. Tyler's a sanitation worker and the fitness guy of the Pokemon resort. And he ends up getting, oh, I was about to say Alyssa Haru to work out with him, and Alyssa is I don't know what Alyssa really does. She just does stuff. She does a lot of stuff. Like, she teaches the Pokemon how to fly. She basically gets them out of, like, really ridiculous situations, but she also does a lot of art too. So she does a lot of stuff.
Mm,
Like, cause at the Pokemon Resort, they're basically just telling the Haru, cause that's what was really getting to her besides taking a vacation. Just like, figure out what you wanna do, because what you wanna do is basically what you gotta do. Yeah, your job as a Pokemon concierge is to help the Pokemon, but you gotta figure out what that is for yourself. You
yeah.
know what I mean? I was like, that's a very interesting way to do that." And they're just some very interesting characters. And also, we find out that Haru was getting, like, followed around by a specific Pokemon too. And every now and then, she's, like, around the resort, and that Pokemon's just, like, watching her and stuff like that. And I just found that to be interesting. And I wanna ask you, how do you feel about how they animate the Pokemon? Because I liked how they animate the Pokemon in the show. It's so cute.
I really enjoyed how they animated the Pokemon. Like, I enjoyed the texture they had. The humans, I think, were more so like clay. Say they were probably some kind of modeling clay of some kind, but the Pokemon were all felted for the most part, except for the water type Pokemon, obviously, because to
Mhm.
give them their reflective, like, moistness, they were obviously, I think, also done in clay. But they were obviously more felted. They were given like so much like movement. They were cute. It wasn't like overly done or underdone. Like they didn't, pardon my French, they didn't half ass it. Like they definitely like full sended. In like capturing what is like the cuteness and timidness of these wild creatures in an environment where they feel relaxed and free. And I feel like that also though, like the use of these materials is kind of also symbolic of like the journey of them. Pokemon themselves are all in this environment, natural and comfortable, whereas the character Haru, as like this malleable clay, starts out very stiff, but as she becomes like accustomed to this environment and realizing that like none of this experience is like a test for her. In reality, this is just like, in a sense, a healthy work environment. It's a place where not only Pokemon can come to learn about themselves and be free and relaxed, but it's also for like people like the workers alike to basically find themselves and find a way to not only make themselves happy, but to make a healthy world for Pokemon and humans to coexist.
Yes, 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 I agree with that completely. Like, that's basically this show just gives, like, that relaxing feeling, and it gives you I keep saying the word wholesome, but that's really basically what this show is about. It's just, like, relaxation. It's funny watching a character like Haru, who is a workaholic, because as we see, once she gets through with her first day, she feels bad because she relaxed too much and starts, like, writing a report of, like, her day there, and it's like, "No, you're missing the point." And it's very interesting how you brought up, like, those different aspects of, like, the differences between how the humans are created and how the Pokemon are created. And you just see I like how the Pokemon are just, like, naturally just more relaxing than human beings are, and just, like, how they weave that lesson into the show once she shows Mrs. Watanabe. Because what happens is she goes to Miss Watanabe, and Miss Watanabe is also, like, the masseuse of the resort, and so she ends up massaging her with her magic hands and her Pokemon helping her, and Haru ends up falling asleep, and she feels so embarrassed that she fell asleep when that was really what they wanted her to do, is to fall asleep, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And how when they show the difference between her and a Pokemon, because the Pokemon, Pansear, Panpour, and Pansage
It's like,
were just, going around, like, doing their little monkeying things or whatever, and she was too busy, like, not understanding what her job was because she was, like, have to work, and then seeing them, she realized just how silly, like, her problems were, you know what I mean? She
Yeah.
was, like, wondering what the point of her life was when what she really needs to do there, what they wanted her to do there was to have fun. It's
Like,
about having fun. Yeah, what are you about to say?
that was the big question because at the end of the first episode, obviously, we reached that point, like you said, where she has this interview, she presents her spreadsheet, and Miss Watanabe is kinda like, "Well, that's, like, nice and all, but, like, that wasn't really the point." Asked her, like, the big question of, "What do you think is, like, the importance of the Pokemon?" Or, like, "What do you think it means to be the Pokemon Concierge?" Of course, she, like, starts thinking of, like, big answer, and like you said, then she sees Pansear, Panpour, and Pansage goofing around behind Miss Watanabe, and it's in that moment that she laughs, that she realizes and gives her true answer of like, the point is to like have fun and create an environment where like both human and Pokemon can, and that's what she wants her job to be. Like she's like, that's what I want to be as a Pokemon concierge, someone who
Yeah.
can bring joy, like I felt joy, like she felt whenever she was at the resort. And that give obviously it wraps up that first episode, and she's got her floral shirt, which I swear if I became a Pokemon concierge and Alyssa gave me that shirt, I would feel so phenomenal
What?
good in florals. I do
Oh,
not
I'm
look
so
good in patterns
sorry.
like that.
Oh.
But
I thought you were gonna say you would be excited because you're like,
you
"No,
would catch
why'd you put
me
me in floral?
on
Be
like
where what are you
Hawaiian
doing?"
pattern shirt. No, I wouldn't
Yeah,
curse at her
no.
like that. I'd like politely decline. I'd be like, I'll take a solid. Thank you. Because
No.
we always get you get your cute patterned handkerchief as like the Pokemon concierge. And
I think
you know,
that's
of
cute.
course,
I would want one of those. I was
yeah.
like I was
But
thinking of putting one on. Sorry. For this episode.
I wanted two to be honest, but I don't think I have any kind of bandana or whatnot. But we can make one. That'll be our next arts and craft project together. We'll make a little Pokemon concierge little tie.
I thought this shirt was close enough, this pattern shirt I have. It's not very, like, Hawaiian, like, resort, but, like, it has patterns. It's nice,
It's
but
cute.
it's cute, yeah.
It's a
So
color palette.
I would look good in whatchamacallit, but I look good in everything, so it doesn't matter. You know, you just gotta
Yeah.
have confidence. But can we talk about how the music of this show, like, the outro of this show, I was dancing, like, it made me feel like just, like
I
not
know. It's
like
like
but just, like, rocking
give
around
it,
with the
give me
music
it.
because it was just so calming and sweet, and you when you listen to the lyrics, it's literally talking about the lesson of the show and the episode, this episode in particular. Like,
Mhm.
that's what it was talking about, and I was just like, "Yes." I love when show lyrics correlate with the show, you know what I mean? The music lyrics correlate with what the show is talking about. I just love that stuff, and I love that it was in English because see, my problem with Pokemon and a lot of its recent, like, seasons and stuff in the anime is, like, because I was listening to because they have the English dub for the new Pokemon Horizons anime, which I'm excited to watch, but a lot of Pokemon openings just don't be hitting like they used to. They don't be hitting like they used to. They just take clips from the show and just, like, splice them together for, like, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and that's it. And I'm just like, "I wanna be the very best." That's what I wanna hear. Or, like, Diamond and Pearl had the best intro. I do not care. If you watch Diamond and Pearl, if you watch, the other show, Battle Revolution or whatever the shows were, they all had to do with Diamond and Pearl. They had the best Pokemon intros, and they were just so great to listen to, but after that, I feel like they fell off, you know what I mean? And
And
it
so
was
like
nice to hear.
even so I started watching it in like the standard Japanese dub, and even then like I really enjoyed the music. And then
Mhm.
like when I switched to English just cuz I decided I wanted to watch all of it and so like make my notes easier English so it would make my notes a little quicker. But even in English it was good. Like it was good dubbings and I was like, "How do you know it's good?"
That's how
It's
you
how you
know
know
it's good.
it's this stuff.
Yes, when music is good in both I always say, because people don't like dubs, I love me a good dub, I love when dubs are good, I love when dubs are bad, I love when dubs are bad because that's where you just had the most fun, but
How
when
do you then?
when the show is great, like, when it's iconic, when it has that music. Like, we talk about 4 Kids or whatever, but let's just be honest, 4 Kids has some of the best, American, anime openings ever, you know what I mean? Sometimes anime openings just don't be hitting, and sometimes I'm just gonna be honest, depending on the show. Don't come at me, I ain't coming at your favorite anime, but sometimes the English songs be better than the Japanese one. That's all the original Japanese. Sometimes on some show. There are always outliers on some I'm not saying every show. I'm not saying every show, but there are some shows I can think of that I will not name here because I don't need nobody to come after me, that I like the English songs better than I like the Japanese songs.
I need
That's
this list because I need to judge you. I'll give you the Pokemon one, but I don't know if I knew some of these other ones. No.
I like the
But
original Pokemon Japanese one too, but I do like the English one better.
the
'Cause
English
you
one
just
just
grew up
pops a
with it
whole
'cause there's
different.
yeah. It's the original one in Japanese is very playful, you know what I mean? But once you get into the English one, you like, "I'm ready for this Pokemon." It gets you, like, excited to watch the next Pokemon episode. What's gonna happen? Is Ash gonna be the very like, is he never became the very best, but he's still working on it. I'm trying to say.
Wait,
But it makes you wanna see his journey a little
I
bit
thought
more.
he did win.
He did, he became champion, but that's different from being a Pokemon master, you know what I mean?
You're
Like,
right.
so, like, they deal with, being a Pokemon master doesn't mean you become a champion. And he became world champion, whatever, which is cool, but it's different. But yeah,
Yeah.
the
On
next
to episode
episode
2.
yeah, you go ahead, you start off.
Okay, so of course, our lovely girl Haru has begun her journey as Pokemon Concierge. She's got her floral printed shirt, her cute little bandana around her neck, and it's kind of time for her to find, like, in a sense, her place in the workplace. Because obviously, her concern now is that, like, everybody has their own spot as a concierge. Like, we mentioned that Tyler's the sanitation person, along with he does a lot of the cooking. And of
Mhm.
course, we see that Alyssa is like very much involved in like active outdoor activities, along with I don't want to call it disciplinary like issues, but she's basically like the overseer of like issues. Like
Yeah.
she's the problem solver, if you will. And
Black woman
Watanabe
always
is
fixing people's problems. That's all I'm gonna say.
yeah. And so, of course, this is the point where Haru's she wants to find her job, but of course, nobody has like a job at the Pokemon Concierge. Like they find their roles, but they're not like assigned a job. Like you don't just sign up and they're like, okay, you handle this and this. So that's when Haru sets out on her journey to find that. And so in her mind, obviously, she wants to help the Pokemon have fun. So she starts trying to research it, but of course, you're on a resort island. There is no cell service. And of course, Tyler and Alyssa watch from the sidelines, like, oh, she'll realize sooner or later that she just has to try her best and she'll find out eventually. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And so things continue, and she kind of see in the beginning, she tries to go about it in a very business mindset, like, research, being very like specific and like exact and perfect. But it doesn't work out for her. And so she decides that, she just needs to find a Pokemon to help. And of course, Watanabe tells her that's like her mission of the day, that by the end of the day, her goal is to find a Pokemon that she can help and have a great experience just like she did on her first day. And she's looking around. She's a little overwhelmed because, of course, she sees Pokemon running around, lifting each other, and she thinks it's like a problem, like something going wrong. But obviously, that's not the case. They're just having fun, and sometimes you just gotta let Pokemon be Pokemon.
Yeah.
And so that's when she starts to notice, though, her little stalker that Kaiser brought up in the beginning. And who is this little stalker other than a Psyduck?
Right.
Which is really ironic because when she goes to meet Alyssa to try and get some advice, Alyssa's painting on this tent, and Haru tries to draw a Pikachu, and Alyssa's like, "Oh, is that a Psyduck?" And she's like,
It was obviously a
it's a
Pikachu. She wrong for
Pikachu."
that. You saw the ears. Like, it was obviously a Pikachu. I could tell it was a Pikachu. I don't know.
I knew too because we also, just to preface, Haru kind of has this very stereotyped mindset of Pokemon in the beginning. She's like a very set kind of belief of like Pikachus are cute, lovable, they have these sharp eyes. She's like a Pikachu stan, low key. Which honestly,
She's your average
like
Pokemon fan.
I'm gonna knock on wood. Like I'm gonna put myself out there to get canceled. I'm actually not a Pikachu stan. I don't dislike Pikachu, but I don't see what all this hype is around Pikachu other than the fact that obviously he's actually classic.
He's the mascot. He's the one that they push the most, and so he's the most iconic. It's like Mickey Mouse. Like, you don't have to.
Well, I don't like Mickey Mouse either.
Mickey Mouse, I'm just saying, you have your favorite Disney characters, and then you have Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is the mascot. Pikachu is the mascot, so they're always going to be held up in higher regard than the other Pokemon because you're not. When you have a character that's the mascot for so long, you're not going to just replace the mascot and say this other Pokemon is. You will do that maybe for a year. Maybe Disney will be like, you know what? Minnie Mouse is the mascot for Disney for this 1 year, but you always know that they're going to go back to Mickey Mouse. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
So anyway, of course the tent is destroyed by oh gosh, I'm like what was his name? The Pokemon, the bird type man that flies into the tent. It's gonna kill me.
Oh, you talking about the bird? Oh, I wrote it down. I'm sorry. I started looking at it's Pidgeot.
Pidgeot. Okay, I was about to say I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. Anyway, of course he falls and glides into the tent, tearing apart their art. And the point of like, I guess that lesson was like Alyssa like obviously helps the Pidgeot up, and she's like, you'll find your time. You just gotta let Pokemon do what they do because the tent was destroyed. But Alyssa wasn't hurt about it. In her mind, as long
Yeah.
as the Pokemon was okay, that's all that mattered.
Me and her will
And
really be
so
friends 'cause, she chill. She like me. Anyways, I'm sorry.
yeah, but in her, of course, like she goes to ask Tyler, they're exercising, stretching like they have been with Pansy or Panpour and Pansage. And who does she see again, other than her little stalker friend? And of course, she asks Tyler about Psyduck, and we find out that he's been a guest for 2 weeks, but he's super shy. And Miss Watanabe herself has been working with him to try and encourage him to be a little more adventurous, but of course, he always runs off to hide on his own. So Haru makes it her mission that she's going to help this Psyduck, which it's kind of cute, but of course he's scared. Like this whole time he's been secretly peeking at her because she's like the new person. And maybe to some level, I don't want to reveal too much yet, but he probably relates to her, and that's why he's like watching her. But he always manages to run away. We get that class follows him through the path, and he's behind her, and she'll walk forward, and he'll peek out, and then she flips back to look at him, only for him to hide again. And it
Yeah.
became like this fun little game. And so, like, obviously, she ends up not being able to catch him. And she goes off, like, they're sitting around, and she starts doing her research on her laptop about Psyducks to see if maybe she can figure something out to help. And we find out that Psyducks actually get headaches, which result in them using their powers, which can sometimes be uncontrolled. And our poor little Psyduck, we realize that's probably why he runs off on his own. And in that moment, we see a little sidekick moment happen where all this stuff rises, all her traditional little candies that she always eats start floating in the air, and we see the little Psyduck like crying a little, like running away because he's having a really bad little headache. And it was like the cutest little scene ever. I was like, my poor baby's having a headache. Oh, like I just wanted to
But
hug
that's the
him.
thing about Psyduck, they always have a headache, so
Yeah, she's a poor little
always.
baby.
I feel bad for them. That's like a migraine that you have forever. That's so annoying. I can
Yeah.
imagine it's not even, like, terrible. It's just, like, it just builds up.
Which, of course, Haru chases after him. And in that moment, she has a eureka moment because I think she sees somebody else talking about how maybe if you let a little bit of what was I think it was like air or what was it? You let out a little bit at a time, then it's not as bad. And so that's when she realizes that, oh my gosh, wait, so maybe if you use a little bit of your psychic powers here and there, naturally, you won't get these headaches. And the Psyduck ends, obviously getting comfortable around her, and they work together and have like a little montage of him like just letting out a little bit of his power, which he tries to do to help her. But it doesn't always end up helping, obviously. Like stuff goes wrong. And at first you can see that she's really concerned about it. But like by the end of the montage, she realizes like what Alyssa said. Things will happen, but that's just part of the job. Like a towel getting knocked over, or like candies falling on the floor. Like it's all just part of the job. It's part of the fun. And of course, Psyduck gets comfortable with her, and it's kind of implied that he doesn't have an owner. So he becomes Haru's Pokemon. And at the end of the day, she tosses candy in the air, and kind of like they have this like heart to heart moment where she's like, it's okay if there are these little mess ups as long as they're having fun.
Mhm.
And it's
Heart to
just
heart,
like really cute and wholesome.
yeah. Heart to hearts are always better with ice cream and candy and shooting
Yes.
stars. Yeah. And
Yes.
psychic
And
powers.
I wish.
Yeah. I'll be Jean Greying it up, I'm not gonna lie. I'll just be, like, doing
And all of
everywhere,
that.
like, you never reading everybody's mind. Like, I already can read everybody's mind anyway. I can look at you and just tell what you're thinking.
I can't read people.
There's some Pokemon that can, but Psyduck maybe not. But
Well,
what if you
actually,
can?
he may be able to learn kind of mind ability like that, but I think like he does not start out with an ability like that.
Psyduck was so cute though, just getting all these different hijinks and just falling around
Yes.
everywhere. I always thought Psyduck was a really cute Pokemon. I used to love Misty Psyduck in Pokemon anime, and when they came back for like these final like 10 episodes, Misty and Psyduck, it was just so funny just to see that dynamic come back again. And seeing a Psyduck in here was just like really, really fun. I love that and his personality too.
I feel like their personalities just worked so well because, like, obviously she's like a Pikachu stan. Like even at the end, like she's saying like the different colors of her candies like represent different Pokemon, and she gets to she goes to say Pikachu, but then she changes it to Psyduck. And it's just like it was like that realization that like just like her being nervous to start her new job and feeling all this pressure and like not wanting to be a burden, he was like the same way. Like the reason he hid away from all the other Pokemon is because his power would get out of control and he felt like a burden. And so just like these two personalities like come together and become more confident together, I guess as like we get those last two episodes was uber cute. It was like so adorable. And just like the dynamic was like amazing in my opinion. Like I was like, oh, it's perfect. Like they're match made in heaven. Like forget Pikachu. Like give me my boy Psyduck.
This show is perfect. I wish we had more episodes.
I know, I'm so mad. I was like so upset. I like hit episode 4 and I was like, okay, let me see when the release date for like the next episode is. I was like, never.
Never. Right. Never. Like that was Pokemon Concierge. I don't know what else to say besides this show is good and y'all need to watch it.
Well, so let me ask this because again, I'm not really into like newer games. Is there like a game, Pokemon Concierge?
No.
Because I was gonna say, I know some of the newer games take place on like islands, but I didn't know if there was like, is this like a promo for the game that's coming out?
Nope.
Are you sure? Because I'm telling you right now, I
It
would
would
play
make
this
a
game
good
if it came
game.
out.
I would play it too. Going across the island doing that. Concierge. Pokemon has so many different types of games. I'm surprised there isn't one that, you know,
I
no.
just think it would be cute. It would be like a fun like. So I would see this if it did come out as like a game. I could see it being more of like I say a simulation, like a very like stereotypical, like you know how they had the
What?
simulation games.
No, I'm sorry. The girl from Everybody Hates Chris, the sister. You ever seen the show Everybody Hates Chris?
Yeah.
The little sister off that show voices Alyssa. I was wondering why she sounds so familiar, and then I look at the cast and I was searching up if this show had a game. And then she right here in my face. I'm like, this Everybody Hates Chris girl. I love her. She's so pretty. Wow. Sorry. Go
But
ahead.
yeah, you're good. The excitement was there. But no, I can imagine it being like a day in the life kind of simulator where like you wake up every day and like you have like your tasks as like a Pokemon concierge worker, and the rest of your plan is go around the island and help. Like you can collect the wild Pokemon, but then the Pokemon that aren't necessarily yours, you like just help in their like resort life, and then like at the same time like you can battle with people who are there with their Pokemon. And there are like only set ones that are there on a day-to-day basis, and that's like how you'd earn like your currency aside from like your wage from being a Pokemon concierge. And I think that would be cute, but I don't know. I don't know what they'll do.
I would take like a Story of Seasons type Pokemon game. Story of Seasons, Harvest Moon, that's the same thing. But if nobody knows Story of Seasons is Harvest Moon, I should do an episode on Story of Seasons, Harvest Moon, so people can know.
I need to play.
Oh Lord, yeah, play that. Oh, I love me a good Seasons game.
When I looked up Pokemon Concierge actually originally, just like to get a little synopsis before I started watching, like to see if there was like a game or whatever, people brought up that it was very like Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon. Even if we got something like more so like that like kind of to like the older style of like Pokemon games, I think that would be super cute.
That would be I would love like a resort simulation or farming simulation type of Pokemon game.
Like, I think this resort simulation would be more successful just because of this show, and I feel like it can promote that. But yeah, no, 100%. I would play.
It will be the same thing. You just have to just take like the farming simulation stuff and make it into something else. You know what I mean? It will still be like the same like base game because you see tons of games that aren't farming simulation games, but they have the same type of backbone to those games. You know what I mean? You're not farming or anything, but you're still like maybe running stores, or you're still like being like a tycoon in some sort of area. You're still helping people. You can still like have like, because I love me a good game. That's why I love Story of Seasons so much. For all the people that don't know, because Harvest Moon is Story of Seasons. And so whenever you see new Harvest Moon games, those are not the same games. Those are different games made by a different company who has that name, the rights to the name Harvest Moon. That's why Story of Seasons in America and other countries it's called Story of Seasons. In Japan, it's still the same name. But like just having those type of games where you can have friendships and then get married and just do all those things. I would love that for a Pokemon game. it'll be really fun.
I can't imagine, like, the getting married part, but I
But
can
you should.
imagine, like, getting, like, yeah, friends or, like,
Mhm,
boyfriends, maybe girlfriends,
mhm.
significant others, however you wish to refer, or, like, a partner to travel or, like, work with would be really
Mhm.
cute. But, yeah. Anyway, like I said, like, 5 Pokeballs out of 5 Pokeballs, 8 gym badges out of 8 gym badges, like, 4 Elite Four medals, like, catch me 'em all, like, let me catch 'em all. Where's my
Right.
season 2? Let me get my
Yeah.
card out and bang it on the table.
I do wanna ask you though, because now that we're on the subject of Pokemon games, we've been on the subject of Pokemon games the whole episode, but, like, what would be your dream Pokemon game? That's what I wanna know. If Sabrina created a Pokemon game, what would be the dream Pokemon game for you?
Oh, okay. So I'm like always like my favorite more so genre has always been like more fantasy style of gaming. Like Legend of Zelda, like I said, was like always a classic for me. I would almost want a Pokemon game set in a more I don't want to say like medieval era because on Pokeballs, the idea of that has always been very much more technology based. But I would like a Pokemon game that was definitely a little more gothic fantasy style, maybe. Maybe it's like a very Dracula-esque, like you're in a town that like starts like a normal being, and switches to a little more like spooky-ish, Stardew Valley-ish. Um, and I would like it to have a mechanic though where like there's like I don't want to call it like a mixing mechanic, but it's like all these potions and stuff that like you make and like berries and whatnot. I would like it to have like foraging, make like you make your own stuff aspect where it's like maybe like the early stages of Pokemon, where it's like we've just gotten like say the technology that started Pokeball. We're just getting into what is like the Pokemon centers, and it's like just very medieval, if you will, style Pokemon. And I don't know. I just think that would be real cool, like Dark Age, like roaming around collecting herbs, having to make your own healing potions, your own max health, and a very kitchen-esque, if you will, like situation where like maybe you have to like stir the pot and mix your add your herbs in at certain times, and like have that kind of mechanic in it. Maybe like having to, I guess, put in a little more like effort with the Pokemon. Like I like the later games where like maybe you have to like have some kind of care system for the
Mhm.
Pokemon as well. Um, not that I don't mind just like running around doing stuff, but I like in the sense like in Arceus and Scarlet and Violet where you can just throw them out and have them like next
Yeah.
to you and they can technically battle without you having to actively be in battle is something I enjoy. But I don't know, like some but I say all that being that I kind of still like the style of like black and white, like the more pixel based animation. I'm not looking for like the newer animations, but maybe like return to like I said, a very Stardew Valley esque
Mhm.
like kind of style. And maybe it being like we said, maybe a little more like simulator esque, like farming simulator and like something fun like that. Like your goal is to travel across the world to meet like the beginning scientists who have studied in each category. Like instead of gym leaders, it's like the most studied like sorcerer in ghost type, grass type. And like you collect like how in Zelda, no, where you normally in the game collect badges like for Pokemon. Maybe you collect like tokens that have like symbol of each type on them. And then at the end, like you insert the tokens and to meet like the final four who are like the most advanced Pokemon sorcerers or studiers, apothecaries, or whatever their tasks are that make up the ultimate team and government of this world. And you beat them only to meet the ultimate Pokemon that's being locked away in the insert like final location. And you go
Yeah.
there and you defeat them and using your own handmade potions and you bring it back to your wee hometown where you have your base and have fun like that.
Yeah. For me, I've been
Mhm.
saying for years, cause I love me a good Dragon Quest game.
Mhm.
Dragon Quest 11 was really great. I would like a game that's like Dragon Quest esque, like a classic kinda JRPG, but with Pokemon, and so instead of it being like you're just one trainer with a full party, I will have the party be multiple trainers with different Pokemon and have it be like
Oh.
Kuni type, not fantasy, because I would still want it to be like in a Pokemon world. And I want the reason why I say Dragon Quest because I feel like Dragon Quest games can be like very episodic. You know what I mean? You can play it and then turn it off, and then once you come on and play it again, it's like a different episode of an anime. And I would love that for a Pokemon game. And so you have a full on party with characters that get fully developed. They go, and I would have it be like a Dragon Quest game, so it'd be like hundreds of hours. But just this long journey where it's like you're watching a season of an anime, you know what I mean? going through that long journey with your friends and your in-game friends, and everybody has their story arcs. Oh, you have tons of Pokemon, but you have Pokemon. I would say like you can catch your own Pokemon and choose some of your own Pokemon, but I would say every trainer has specific Pokemon or two that is like their partner Pokemon. Like Ash has Pikachu, Misty had Togepi, Dawn had Piplup or whatever. And those Pokemon would really be like the Pokemon that are major to like the story. And you can have like little story arcs between trainers and their Pokemon. You can have like little side stories like Tales games have, like where you have the little side skits for the characters and just a full on because Pokemon are JRPGs, but I feel like they're kind of like beginner starter JRPGs. I want like a full
Yeah.
on Dragon Quest type of Pokemon game in a Pokemon world where just like you have those characters and they travel with you throughout the entire journey. And what you can do that, and you can also have like tons of different mini games too. Because I was thinking like the main trainer that you play as, of course you'll pick it, be a guy or girl. They can be like a Pokemon trainer that wants to go to have the different badges, and the different badges take you out throughout the story. But then another party member can be like somebody who wants to do contests, and so you have like contest mini game, or another character wants to be like a Pokemon, I don't know, doctor or connoisseur or something. They all have their own dreams and they come together and you just like have this just great JRPG where all these characters come together. And I would actually, I don't know. I'm not sure because you can either do either a turn-based battle system, or you can do like an action-based battle system. I would like to see what Pokemon would do with an action-based battle system. And in this type of game, of course, it can have its own region, whatever. You don't even have to have every because I know people be complaining how new Pokemon games don't have every single Pokemon.
Mhm.
You can pick and choose whatever Pokemon that you want in the game, do 200, 300 Pokemon that you want in the game, and then, like, you can go from there, explore the different parts of the region, have extra story DLC. Like, that's the type of Pokemon game that I want. You know what I mean? That's the type of Pokemon game that I always wanted. Just like that Dragon Quest like Pokemon game where it feels like I'm really just like playing the anime.
I was gonna say, it's funny you bring that up because that was one of the things I actually liked about Scarlet and Violet. People didn't like this, but what I liked about Scarlet and Violet is that they had almost like a 3 route system, like 3 stories running all at
Yeah.
once that coincided, like, the 3, you could say, like, characters that ran alongside your character. So, like, you're Misty, you're Brock, if you will. And so I liked that, like, you had those 3 separating stories that kinda converged to make the overall story. So like one was following with Armin and like his journey to make the perfect sandwich to help heal his Pokemon. And so like you were defeating like legendaries, if you will. And or like they weren't technically legendaries, they were just like powered up regular Pokemon, but that was the concept. Like one, like you're defeating these larger than life Pokemon. The second one was like the gym leader route, like of catching all these badges. And then the third route was like fighting the more so like it was Team Star, but like your Team Rocket, if you will, like defeating plot, like fighting the enemy. So I liked how they did that, but if we incorporated it into like a system the way you're talking to where like they're actually active party members, and maybe the idea is to complete the game and use all of your members to fight in the Elite Four, you have to complete like their episode, if you will, quest of like their backstory, their like in a sense their life fulfillment like season, in order to have them like join your team for the final battle. I think that would be interesting. It would kind of suck. Like some people would be like, "Oh, maybe you just don't want anybody, and so you just tank up your one character to go ahead and
See,
take on the Elite Four at the end."
that's where the party system come in, right? So, like, how I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking like Final Fantasy, you know what I mean? Like, the characters are your party, and they have, like, their Pokemon, but you're not having more than, like, 3 max Pokemon for each character because you want like, I'm looking for a Final Fantasy type of party, you know what
So
I
you
mean?
want them to be in your party regardless of if you pick them up.
What you mean?
Like in my mind, that the way that would work is like you start the journey, say on your own, and as you progress, what is like the beginning of like the main story, you would bump into these people and you would have
Yeah, like, not the option, but they join your party story-wise, like a Final Fantasy,
okay.
like a Dragon Quest, like a any JRPG
So
that you
that's what I was asking. I was actually
Mhm.
looking to make it optional whether or not you pick them up and take on their story quest,
No.
or
No.
would you have it just be like they have to regardless?
So, like a lot of JRPGs, they have their story. Some JRPGs you have a lot of JRPGs you have optional characters or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like a Dragon Quest like story where the characters join your party throughout the story and they stay in your party until the end and all that stuff, like your classic JRPG. Now I don't I'm not looking for, like, a Pokemon game. I'm not looking for, say, Suikoden, where you have 120 characters, and then you can choose people that come to your castle and all that stuff. No, I'm talking about, like, we're on the Pokemon journey, and Ash eventually picks up Misty, and Brock eventually joins them, and they go throughout the whole journey. That's what I'm talking about in my Pokemon game.
Yeah.
Just like that, because that's the type of Pokemon game I wanna play. I wanna feel like I'm playing, like, a Pokemon anime. I wanna feel like I'm learning about these party members, not necessarily like having like side quests or anything, but literally just like having these characters come in and then they all play major parts in the story. And when I mean by character development, I just mean like everybody's characters get developed as the story goes on and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
like your classic JRPG type of stuff. I want that with a Pokemon game. And we have that with the regular Pokemon games, but it always used to annoy me where you have these characters that you talk to, they always come in and they always leave. I want the characters to come in and I want them to stay and journey alongside the main character and
Yeah.
not just like side characters, but feel like members of an actual party. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by like
Yeah.
that for a game. But that's what I would do. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Game Freak, you can hire me because y'all need help anyway.
Maybe we
But
can get both of our games made. Maybe we could be the next round. What would we call them? What so if we were like opposing games, what would we name that? What would we name that? Like they're kind of going like with like gemstones, so we could like Peridot and Topaz or something
Mhm.
like that.
I'll make mine's like a spin-off series though, if I'm being honest, because you know how you have Pokemon Coliseum and Pokemon Battle Revolution? I'll just name mine, like, after the manga, Pokemon Adventures, and then for every new one, you got a new story, new character, so it'll be like Pokemon Adventures, um, Unova, Pokemon Adventures, Hoenn, I don't know, and stuff like that. That's what I would do. But if we did opposing games, I feel like we need to do different from like a crystal or something. We need to do something different because they did colors, they did crystals. What will they do besides that? That's the thing.
Well, we could do like I joked about it earlier, but we could do like medals. Like we could be like I don't know. Cause so if we did that though, cause so if we keep everything we set up until this point like accurate, mine is definitely very much more like medieval, whereas like yours is more like I guess it could
Modern
be
is
more so like future modern.
yeah,
So like we could pick something like stone and steel. Like
okay.
something like stone being like very like old traditional or like the start, and then steel being like the finalized processed like hard metal, like something like that.
Our games
Stone
are
and
so
steel.
different. They would be like two separate like
Well,
different
I feel
games in different years and stuff though.
not if we use the ending to merge them. So hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. Okay. So what if we had instead of like two different opposing legendaries, what if it's like one legendary that like similar to Arceus like breaks time and space? And so the idea is like I could edit my game to be more like yours in the sense of collecting party members, where yours we can tweak it in a sense of like rather than it be like mixing potions and doing stuff like that, yours would be more like mechanical. So like you could have one of your party members maybe wants to be like someone who works at say what do they call that, a Pokestop, and so they have to do all like the mechanical work of like to put your Pokeballs in and like heal them up, like you have to do like
That's
some
how
cool
you make
technical
all that's how you
maneuver.
create all the, like, the buffs in the game and stuff like that.
Yes. So we do that, and then at the end, maybe like my giant like mansion, there's like a door, if you will, that like separates our worlds. And when you open the door, it's the option to either come back to the start or to lead to the finish. And maybe that's like the point of our games. Maybe your like the goal of your game is to find like the origin of like why the world is like it is. And but nobody talks about how everything started. And so your goal is to find the start of where everything began, where my game, the goal is to find out where's the future leading? Like why are we caught in the past? And so I want to meet to the future. And the idea is when we open these doors, that's where like, there's like a middle space of truth, like an in-between world that connects our worlds, and it's where the legendary is.
If you ask me, that sounds more like a Pokemon game trilogy to me. Like like 1, 2, and 3. If I can do that, let's make a Pokemon trilogy.
Let's go, Kaiser!
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Oh my
Pokemon Adventures Steel, Pokemon Adventure, what was the other one? Stone, and
um,
Pokemon Adventures
gosh, what is like an in between us both? I don't know. We can figure it out. That's for later. The first two
Yeah.
games come first.
Yeah.
You, I'm like real passionate right now. I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna
I can
start
tell.
writing my Pokemon game.
Yeah. Alright, so before we end the episode, I wanna ask you, do you have since it's New Year's episode, new year, new Pokemon, new you, I don't know. Do you have any New Year's resolutions? Like, what's your New Year's
Oh,
resolutions for 2024? Oh my gosh, 2024. It was just 2014. I don't know what happened.
you're
Go
not
ahead.
wrong. I have a couple. So
Mhm.
my first and foremost is I actually want to learn Japanese. For Christmas, these what little like requests for gifts I had to get some workbooks and textbooks. And so my goal is that I want to start studying hardcore. I'm starting with written systems of hiragana and katakana, and my goal is that by the end of the year, I would like to be able to take the N4 exam or N5 by summer and then N4 by the end of next year, which would give me a minor proficiency. It's a Japanese language proficiency
Mhm.
test. And I would like to pass and just, prove that I've like worked hard because I feel like a lot of times I'll get really excited and then lose steam. So that's like the one promise I have for myself, along with I wanted to start a more positive lifestyle. Like right now, I currently just like go to work and then come home and then die. So
Yeah.
I would, yeah, just lay in bed and question my life.
You like
Um,
Phoenix, huh? You rise from the
yeah,
ashes every day.
yes. But obviously, this podcast has been very like enjoyable, giving me something to do and like find enjoyment in. And so the goal is that like I want to start like healthier life practices. I'm hoping like I'll start my self studying Japanese. We talked about maybe doing that together. So
Yeah.
that'll create like a sense of routine. I want to start exercising more because I started exercising, but then again, I got depressed, lost steam. But I would like to like set a schedule for myself and like, stick to that routine and have fun and like live my life. So that is the goal for 2024 to start living my life.
That's
What
my
about you?
goal, to start living a life. I'm about to be 25. I don't have a life. So I wanna get a life. I want to, I don't know, maybe make friends or something. Oh, that's what I wanna do. I
Am I
wanna
not a
connect with
friend?
more people. No, you are a friend. I wanna connect with people. That's the whole point of me doing this podcast, to connect with people and stuff. So I wanna connect with more people and, live a life and, just live my life for me. Start doing things for Kaiser. I've been
Oh,
doing
great.
24 years of helping other people, but, like, now, the older I get, I'm just like, "Yeah, I don't need to, not that I live life for other people, but, we pick up
Yeah.
certain things and stuff. So I wanna do more things. I wanna discover what I like to do, is what I'm trying to say.
Well,
I wanna discover what I like to do, because I know some things I like to do, but if you I was like last year, if you asked me a few simple questions about what's some of my favorite things were, I wouldn't be able to answer you. But, this year I've gotten better at, learning what I like. And now I wanna go even further with that and just do stuff that I want in all areas of my life. With this podcast too. Do whatever I want with this podcast, if I'm being honest. It's called I'm a Fan of, and look, I'm a fan right here. So I'm a fan of whatever I want it to be. And so that's really what I want to do. I want to get more guests on this podcast too.
mhm.
I got some guests in mind, and we're slowly but surely getting more people listening, so that's great, and I might just ask a few people that I'm fans of. I wanna be, like, more brave and ask a few people that I'm fans of, like, certain podcasts, just, like, come on my podcast and see what we can talk about too. Um, and just have fun with life. I need to learn how to have fun in life. I'm such a responsible person. I don't think I get enough credit for being, like, 24 years old and not being, like, I don't wanna say stupid, but, people in our 20s, we be stupid, and we all do stupid stuff, but it surprises me. I'm sorry, because I don't wanna be, like, coming at people, but it surprises me how emotionally immature a lot of people in our 20s can be. That's all I'm gonna say, and I don't wanna spend my 20s, like, not that you waste time, because you always learn lessons, but just worrying about foolish stuff. Like, I'm the type of person that doesn't like foolishness. I never liked foolishness, and so I just not gonna waste my time with foolishness either, you know what I mean? So I never did. But, like, just, more live my life for myself. That's my New Year's resolution, and learn how to
I
pronounce
agree.
more more when I talk.
You're fine. Hey, if you ever want help or you want to do anything, let me know. There's like
Mhm,
where we live, there's some fun stuff to do. You just got to go out there. So if you ever want to go do something like go watch live poetry, go see music,
mhm,
explore. There's some pretty parks and places, and there's stuff to
mhm.
do. You
I
know.
have other goals too. I have other goals too. That's my main goal for that. And I would be like, "Oh, workout and stuff like that." I've been working out since I've been 18 and I haven't stopped. So I think I'm already setting that. Despite me being only 127 pounds, I'm 127 pounds of muscle, so that's okay.
I was like, Kaiser, that's so tiny.
That's very tiny. You wouldn't think looking at me what you would think. But
I was
if
about
you
to
look at my arms,
say.
you would think, but I have, like, really muscular arms and stuff, so I'm fine with
You
that.
do.
I used to weigh, like, 140 something if I'm I did. I used to weigh 140 something. 'Cause I used to be, like, when I first started working out, I was 105 pounds. That's when I was 18, and I went up to 110, and then I stayed there until I was, like, in my 20s, and I was, like, eating more, and I got to 140 something, and then I lost all that weight. I don't know, like, in 2020 what was it? What year are we in?
We're in
2023,
2023.
2022, that's when I started, like, anxiety and stuff, and I started losing a lot more weight and stuff, and but I always my weight always fluctuated, so I'm when I was in my 140s, that didn't last for long at all. Yeah, life situations and stuff, I lost a whole bunch of weight, not a whole bunch of weight, because I was always skinny, I lost a little bit of weight, and then
Kaiser, all I'm hearing is I'm gonna be buying you protein and Pediasure.
that's another New Year to get more protein in, because I work out, and I'm just, like, really, like, skinny. I'm not, like, super skinny. I don't have, like, how those guys and they just be having, like, these flat bird chests. I don't have a bird chest and nothing like that, but I do wanna work on my upper chest a bit so that'd be a bit more muscular, but my lower chest looks really good. But anyways, I want that's another resolution that I try to do this year is to have more protein, but my thing is in the morning time, it's just hard for me to eat. So I'm like, I'm just gonna have to start drinking stuff in the morning because
I was
it's
about to
just
say, that's why I recommend the Pediasures. My brother's the same way. It's hard for him to put on weight, but he started doing Pediasures in the morning because he doesn't really like breakfast, and it's a drink, so he can drink it. And then in the afternoons, he started doing protein powder with his like whatever he has for lunch.
I used to have protein powder, but then I quit my job, so had to hold off on that.
Hey, if you
But,
ever
like
need some, let me know.
send it to me, like, honestly. But I swear, but yeah, those are my New Year's resolutions. So this is fun. This is great. Guys, if you have any New Year's resolutions that you wanna share, go ahead and leave some comments because I wanna know what New Year's resolutions people have. I wanna know what your goals are because it's always nice to have a goal, and it's also important to know that you don't have to wait till the new year to start a new resolution. You can choose to do something new at any time in your life. Don't sit here and wait till, like, end of the year or beginning of the year to start it. Do it now if that's what you wanna do. Take the steps now. Like, whatever you wanna do it. Don't be scared. Have fun. Live your life. That's my lesson for myself and for everybody else to live. So, yeah. So, thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you watch Pokémon Concierge because it's a really fun and wholesome show. And we'll see you next year. Bye.
Bye.